Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television, a show coming to you live from our studio in the nation's capital. Now, the military-led government of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have formally withdrawn from the Economic Community of the West African States, that's the ECOWAS regional bloc of West African states, ending a year-long effort by the bloc to reverse their decision. The three countries first announced their exit in early 2024 after escalating tensions with ECOWAS. Now, despite their departure, a special ECOWAS committee has been formed to negotiate the future engagement and mitigate the impact on millions who depend on regional trade and movement. Now, we know that I think earlier this month that there was a mass protest in Mali where they were protesting that the government of Mali should return to ECOWAS because this would affect a lot of trade situation, and not even talking about the citizens of Mali staying outside Mali. Now, there's this insinuation that there's going to be a lot of discussions that would be made. There will still be some sort of a cordial relationship between the AES and the ECOWAS, but a lot of agreement needs to be signed to get to that point, and they are diasporas away from these three countries to other African countries, which we know has this free visa entrance to all of the countries in the region. So now there is that concern of what would happen to Malians that are a lot of them, chunk load of them, I think 1.3 in Burkina Faso, and another, not Burkina Faso, in Cote d'Ivoire, and another in, I think, Senegal. So these are the concerns of Malians. And when it comes to us still remaining in the ECOWAS bloc, about 13 member, there is that concern of what would happen now. So we have joining us Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu, a political scientist and international affairs analyst that would be dissecting this topic with us this morning, joining us virtually. Good morning, Dr. Hamisu.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Now let's talk about the implications of all of this. We saw how something that the ECOWAS bloc stood for, democracy, governance, and all of that, but then it turned sour. Now there is even a bit of fear that Togo could exit the ECOWAS and even join the AES. What is your take on this tension and how it got out of control to this point?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, my submissions are based on a fact, and the fact is that we all are agreed that we're operating a democracy, and democracy gives people freedom of self-determination, whether as an individual or as a country. So I don't want us to lose sight of that any country, anytime, any day, if they are in tandem with their people, and they want to leave any bloc, they can do that peacefully. We saw what happened between the UK and the European Union. It was an agitation that was long in coming, and there were a lot of agitations either for or against. At the end of the day, there was a referendum, which was a referendum that decided the fate of the United Kingdom, whether they want to belong to European Union or not. And then they went to the poll, and majority of the people opted that they should leave the Union. I am concerned with stability, as you rightly caption it. The primary purpose of every association is to provide people the leverage to be able to pursue their ambitions and their needs, and they're able to satisfy that peacefully. Now, if for the sake of whether we ought to remain together or not in an association that is voluntary, and we now go to war, it means that we are not thinking. So I want a situation whereby if they want to exercise their freedom of self-determination and they want to leave ECOWAS, then we should allow them to leave ECOWAS up to the time that they realize that it's no longer feasible. I think if we do it this way, we will be able to stabilize our region and be able to develop us we will have war on our hands, and we cannot add war to the current poverty, corruption, insecurity that we are witnessing in these very particular locations.
All right, let's talk about these immediate impacts, talking about the short term of this exit. Now, they've been given until July of 2025 to re-enter or reconsider their decision. And these people have vehemently made it clear that they do not want to do that. But what would be the impact on the West African countries of this exit of these three countries?
You see, I see no serious impact. The only impact that we'll have is what has been happening. What is happening, if we want to be honest to ourselves, is the fact that the remaining countries that claim to be democratic countries want to contain the spread of military dictatorship in Africa, so that there will be no domino effect where other countries, militaries will seize power in neighboring countries that claim to be democratic. But we have to tell ourselves the ultimate truth. There is a situation, and the situation is a situation that people have been grappling with. Bad governance, poverty, unemployment, ignorance, lack of social amenities. Now, if democracy is not able to deliver this, be rest assured that the chaos that will result will lead the military to seize power under whatever pretense. So we have a scenario, and the scenario is simple. It's either the so-called democratic regimes in Ecowas sub-region or in Africa as a whole decide to work for the benefit of their people rather than to the benefit of those that are ruling us or their cronies that they connive with in the name of privatization, commercialization, cost reflective service provisioning. I bet you military dictatorship will spread in Africa. The reversal will be that these democratic regimes are able to meet the needs and aspirations of their people. But to say that we want to combat it using force, it will not work. Force will not work. Because these are independent countries, and they reserve the right to join any association at any time, and they reserve the right to pull out. So my point is simple: is either we do the right things to ensure that the people repose their confidence once again in liberal democracy, or that we continue in this fashion, and then military regimes will spread. But to say that you want to contain it using force, then there will be chaos in Africa. And what will happen is we will fight ourselves, and the little resources that we have to provide education, to provide healthcare delivery, we will spend them on arms, and the Western world will be glad to sell arms to us because Africa is a bad market for now. The only reason why we are buying arms from them is because of insurgency in this very particular enclave. Remember the Sahel, which Niger is a part of, Burkina Faso is a part of, Mali is a part of, is an enclave of terrorism, which is taking largest chunk of our budget in terms of arms procurement. If you add war to it, I bet you our situation will be worse than what we are witnessing in Somalia or in Gaza.
We hope we don't get to that. Now, Dr. Abu Hamisu, you spoke about the complexities of this situation. If we go the hard way, there is going to be a setback. And if we go the soft way, then it would crumple on democracy. Now, the regional bloc, ECOWAS, is a bloc that is known, a body known for, fighting and holding on to the democratic standard. But then will this decision not weaken the body, when it comes to the fact that they cannot hold on to this power? It's seeming as if it is a trend, or it could be a trend, because we know that there was coup also in Guinea-Bissau and other countries. So would this not send an isolated incident or trend for this regional bloc or other exits like this?
You see, the fact still remains that either way, no easy way out of the situation. Hard power, use of force, use of threat will not work. If the use of threat will work, remember the president of Nigeria once threatened that Nigeria should prepare because we are going to invade Niger because Niger jettisoned democracy. Look, let us be honest with ourselves. Where people no longer have confidence in the system, there will be rebellion. And we are calling on Mr. President to focus back home, to put a lot of things in order. Because even in Nigeria, people are protesting. They are protesting hunger, they are protesting insecurity. So what I'm saying in essence is that if ECOWAS, as you said, they are upholding democratic standard, then I want to believe that ECOWAS should be.
So we still have Dr. Abu Hamisu. I think we've had a bit of network interruption. Hopefully he gets to join us back to talk about these implications, because these are things that has been really bedeviling the country or the region at this point. We need a way forward when it comes to West Africa growing. We know that countries in the West African, the economic and West African bloc has a huge potential of really competing. I know we were at a stage where we said there was going to be a currency called the ECO, and right now there is a huge step back on that decision, because from Mauritania exiting, I think in 2020 or 2021 to now, it just does not speak well of the region in general, and we're hoping we get to dissect and find possible solution. Do we have Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu back? All right, I think we'll still have a bit of issues on that one. Hopefully we get to connect back with him. First of all, we know that these three countries are clearly, saying that they are not coming back. All right, Dr. Abu Hamisu, do we still have you?
All right, yeah, I can hear you now.
Really bad. Now let's talk about this development and how it influences the ECOWAS relationship with other regional blocs or international organizations such as the African Union and the United Nations. Don't you think this would reduce the strength and power of the West African region?
You see, there is one thing that we are not even opening our minds to, and the world is an interesting environment now. The era of the dominance of these bodies that you mentioned is over. Today, you have BRICS countries that have come together. BRICS countries are putting in place structures, institutions, processes that are challenging the dominance of these very particular bodies that you've mentioned. And these bodies have been accused of undermining development in Africa. They've been accused of spreading poverty in Africa. And in their wake, you have BRIC countries, you have countries like China, that are giving loans to countries, and you are seeing development, unlike before where we are giving aids on paper. We are not seeing anything, and countries are now moving towards BRICS. A lot of countries are now joining as partner. Nigeria has even equally joined as partner. So the question of undermining, yes, the systems are developed to undermine one another. So China is undermining America by providing better services that the cost is reduced. So it's a competitive world. Russia is doing the same thing. India is doing the same thing, except for Nigeria that is still sleeping. So if this bloc are able to ally themselves to BRICS country, it means they have a leverage. They have so invariably we'll be back to what we have in the 70s and 80s, from 60s, known as Cold War era, where you have countries building alliances, and then the stupid ones among them will allow the big powers to use their country to stage a war, just the way Ukraine allow NATO to use its country to stage a war against Russia, and then Ukraine is being destroyed daily. So I'm saying that we should learn a lesson from what is happening. You shouldn't allow anybody to use us for proxy war. It is their war. Let them fight it. It's not our war. What we need in Africa is development. What we need in Africa is stability. What we need in Africa is a democracy that works, that gives food to the people, that give education to the people, that provide healthcare delivery. So it doesn't matter as the leader of Chinese modern China said, in the person of Deng Xiaoping, he said it doesn't matter whether the cat is white or black. Once it will catch a rat, that is the cat. So for Africa, whatever will work for us, we should be pragmatic enough to use that. So we'll not say because we are used to World Bank and IMF and their conditions are suffocating us, and then we should remain with them. If China bank or Chinese bank or Indian bank or any other bank for that matter can give us the same services at a lesser demand, that will imperil our people. So I'm of the opinion that flexibility, and come to think of it, we have other bodies in Africa, the Southern African countries that have their own union, SADC. They have SADC as a body, right? We have African Union, we have ECOWAS, and they are coexisting side by side. Would ECOWAS now say because it is ECOWAS, AU should fold up, or that SADC should fold up? Is that what we are saying? At the base of this crisis is either we want democracy in ECOWAS sub-region, or we don't want democracy in ECOWAS sub-region. And I said, fundamentally, ECOWAS is, first of all, a body that's supposed to promote free trade and free movement of persons, goods and services within West African sub-region, before it was amended to include democracy. And I knew right from day one, the day they included democracy, I know we'll have crisis. Is just a matter of time, because most of the countries in Africa are just democratic in name. They are not democratic in services, in terms of protecting lives and properties. So let us get this very straight. In as much as we want to say that the crisis is resolved, but we are saying that in the interest of stability, there should not be force. These countries should be allowed to do whatever they want to do, in as much as they are not trampling on our own right to do whatever we want to do. And I'm saying that instead of concentrating our energies to fight these three countries, that we should channel those energies to bettering our people back home in Nigeria, back home in any other West Africa countries that we have democracy, so that what happened in Burkina Faso will not repeat itself in these countries. Because if we are not going to listen to the people, concentrate on our primary mandate, for instance, Mr. President concentrating on solving the issues of hunger, solving the issues of kidnapping, solving the issues of insecurity that has stopped farmers from going to farm. It's only setting up himself, setting up the country for military takeover too. So we are saying that instead of dissipating energy to restore democracy to Nigerians, and then where our people are protesting home, that for me would be a very bad decision. So we must preserve stability in Africa. We must stabilize Nigeria too, and Ghanaians must stabilize Ghana and any other African countries, so that we will not see military dictatorship spreading across Africa as a result of bad governance. Because as it is now, the narrative, the optics are simple. The military juntas are projecting themselves as patriots that have come to salvage their countries, and they are projecting those that said they are practicing liberal democracy as saboteurs that are willing to be used. And this particular accusation is coming at a point that we are having improved relationship between Nigeria and France. France, that these countries are having challenges with, that Nigeria too used to have challenges with. So the complexity is there, because they are beginning to see Nigeria as a willing tool in the hands of France and Western allies to undermine their patriotism, to undermine the independence they seek, to undermine the welfare they seek for their people. And if such is the narrative, we have to tread carefully, because the people you say you want to assist are supporting the junta. So why should you cry more than the bereaved? This is the question I've been asking myself.
I mean, it's really interesting when you spoke about how we should not inherit other people's war and beef. We've seen even one of the great nations in the world, USA, saying we do not want to fight other people's war. So that's a great call for the African leaders, because it seems like sometimes they allow themselves to be used in this kind of fight. So let's talk about the implications of this regional, this decision on the regional economy, talking about economic integration and regional trade, and how this could impact on it. Now, I said earlier that there's a bit of fear, especially from Malians, saying that they have people living in other ECOWAS countries. And we know that this is supposed to push for free trade transactions and all of that. And the AES are saying that there could be a room, there is a room for sitting down to discuss and still allow the movement of goods and services. But is there fear? Do you have any fear on how this arrangement and agreement could turn out?
Well, let me say from the get-go that, look, we are integrated and we'll be together for centuries before colonialism and the partitioning that has given Africa most of the boundaries that are suffocating us. So whether there is a military dictatorship in Mali or there is democratic governance in Nigeria, that will not stop an ordinary person that has business in Nigeria to come into Nigeria. The only problem is where there is suspicion, where there is no trust, then everybody is a suspect. Everybody is a suspect in the sense that when our intentions are always contradicting our posturing, then there will be a problem. What do I mean by this? Once we show that we will do everything to bring down these regimes in their various countries, I bet you some of their citizens' life will be in peril, because anytime you visit Nigeria, they will see you as somebody who is recruited to do the biddings of Nigerian government that is intending to bring the juntas down. So ultimately, it has to do with the level of trust we are able to build. If and only if we take it slowly from the very beginning, there were no threats, there were no counter threats, I'm sure we'll not get to this level. But we started wrongly by issuing threats to these guys, and they are the ones that are controlling the instrument of violence in their countries. And then they called the bluff out of ECOWAS. Look, let me tell you one thing that even our ECOWAS leaders don't want to acknowledge. We trade with our colonial masters more than we trade with ourselves. Go and check it. I'm challenging anybody on this. As close as we are to Niger, Niger trade with France more than Niger trade with Nigeria. Yeah, there are people do come over because we have opportunities here and there that they can do menial job to be able to sustain life. But in terms of real business, go and check it. To even travel to Niger, there is no direct flight between Nigeria and most of the Francophone countries. If you want to go to, for instance, Togo, you have to take it more or less like taxi to go to Togo from Nigeria. You have to go to like 3 countries before you. I'm talking about not Togo now. Cameroon. As close as we are to Cameroon from Adamawa State. So you have to go through Abuja, Lagos, maybe to Togo, from Togo again before. So we trade with our colonial masters more than. So the issue of trade is there, but it all depends on what we want to do. If we are not trying to fight each other, I bet you nothing will affect the structure of trade and movement of people, goods and services, because even that, it is the people themselves that are trying to survive, that used to do this trading against all odds. Those that are enjoying it are those that used to fly with planes to their destination. But those that travel by road, that travel by long distance, these are roads that even the government in Africa are not providing. Go and check the road linking Cameroon through Adamawa to Cameroon. Go and check our own portion of the road. Go to Borno State, that has the largest borders with these African countries, and see the nature of the road. So the people are surviving outside government. But if we decide to extend the politics of whether there should be democracy in Africa or not into trade, then we'll have a problem, and that is where the chaos will start. And no, God forbid, we won't be able to handle the situation. So all I'm saying is, let the politics of returning them back to ECOWAS continue, and then the people should continue to do what they want to do. Because at the end of the day, by the time sanctions are imposed, it is the people that will be affected. And the way sanctions work is to cause disaffection among the citizens so that they can blame their government and there will be chaos. And I'm saying that we cannot add chaos to the existing chaos we're having in Africa. This is just my point. So the politics of returning them, yeah, it can continue. You know, even in UK, when the votes were decided, because the young people did not vote, the older generation voted, and they voted themselves out of EU. But the younger generation realized that the opportunities in Europe will be limited. And what happened? They are quiet about it. They did not follow through the process of leaving the EU, because they realized the implication of leaving the EU, that the EU is too integrated that they cannot disintegrate now, and that if they want to do that, the cost of leaving the EU is higher than the cost of staying in EU. So I want to believe that, given the same circumstances, still given the same scenario, I am sure in the long run, these juntas will realize that they have more to benefit in belonging to ECOWAS than to leave ECOWAS. But if we want to force them, they will feel ultimately important, and they will feel that we cannot do without them. So we are saying that let them be. Let us see how far they can run. If they cannot do it just the way UK did, they will come back. But what human beings hate is being dictated to, is being forced to do what they don't want to do. And I'm saying that don't force them, because they have right to self-determination.
All right. Appreciate that. That will be a great place to conclude this. And hopefully we get to see a better output for the region in general, and even Africa as a continent. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu, for joining us this morning. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course, that was a discussion on how the stability of the ECOWAS will be even after the exit of the Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso's government from this region. Now, the major question I'm going to leave Nigerians with is, should national sovereignty be above or prioritized over the regional cooperation and the force of the growing issues that we have? We have the cross-border climate, we have the conflict, and we have the health threat to food security. Also, let's not even forget, we also have the major thing of insecurity. That is the question I'm leaving Nigerians with to continue to dissect. Hopefully, even neighboring country, Nigeria, get to hear this and answer that question for themselves. With that, of course, we wrap up this segment and we would take a break. But when we come back, it will be a time for us to take a look at the front pages of the National Daily. So stay with us.